guys, what is up? Today's video is how to remove throttle cables on a 2006 Honda CBR1000RR. Now, I don't know if this is with all the CBR06s, but the throttle cables are ran up under the steering dampener, and there's no room for the old cables to push through. So I'm pretty sure the fix, or at least for mine, is taking off the steering dampener and getting this plate with these 3 bolts off in order for me to run the old cables out and new cables in. Now, getting the throttle cable off the carb is pretty easy. Now you can see this is the new one, this is the old one, pretty simple. You just release the old one, the locking nuts, and it just pulls out from the carb. And then up here, it's pretty simple as well. You literally just take out these 2 bolts that hold on this little bracket right here. There's a little locking bolt on this other one that you just break loose and it comes undone. The old one, see, just take this, loosen this thing, this little locking nut thing, and it comes right out. Well, once you get this off, you kind of just twist it around and you can see that's where the old one went. Now, I don't have to replace this one, I just gotta replace this one. The reason why I have to replace it is, you can see there's some fraying on this end. There's fraying on both ends, and when you twist the throttle, it gets stuck and it just rev at like 2,000-3,000 RPMs. But anyways, to get the steering dampener off, it's pretty simple. I already have it loose and off, but there's 3 bolts, 2 here, 1 there. Mine are pretty hard to break loose. Broke them loose. It's an 8mm, but I can't find my 8mm, so I'm using a, where's it at? I'm using a 5/16. Surprisingly, that works. So, anyways, well, once you pop these 3 bolts off, you kind of notice a pivots on the swing arm thing right here. This is a 8mm or 5/16 as well. This comes undone, and you can see the bolt comes with a washer. Pretty important to keep these together, I'm assuming. So, get this entire john off, and look, you have access to these 3 bolts. You'd think that you can get to them with a wrench, and they are a 12mm, but as you can see, you can get them on. We don't have the most space, especially with this thing on. Especially back here, you can't get anything on here at all. So, getting it off is pretty easy. It took me like 35 minutes, but I'm gonna get this off, pull the old one off, put the new one in, and yeah, be right back. That steering dampener bracket out the way, you can see that throttle cables, obviously, you can pull them through now. That has this little like bracket thing, I guess to kind of keep them still in place. But you're just gonna break this loose, which for me, it's a 5/16 or a 8mm. Kind of just loosen up before it looses, and look at that, boom, comes the old ones. You can see it's pretty thick. The new one's pretty thick compared to the old one, but you wanna make sure when you run these up that you run them up and there's nothing crimping them down or in the way of anything, because you'd get to where you adjust them, turn your handlebars, and they might turn to the right and the RPMs right or left, but that's when it comes down to actually adjusting them with up here. But also comes down to right there too. But kind of hard to record and also do this at the same time. So pretty self-explanatory, really self-explanatory. You put the new one through here and you get it right into there. Now, because I've done this on my Katana, make sure all the cables have the most free play they have, because you will accidentally snap this if you put too much pressure on it, and then you're gonna wait a week for a throttle tube to come in, and it ain't fun, because it's like, I could have prevented it. But I'm gonna get it on and come back. I have a little trouble. I know, now, like I said, I'm not doing this throttle cable because I don't need to, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But you might have a little trouble putting this front one on, and what I found was easiest, obviously, to get the most amount of slack as possible. I assembled this housing back up just a little bit, not all the way through. tighten both these back up just because it's like, want the most throttle cable I can. But for this one, I find it easier if you put your left hand onto here and take your right hand and kind of guide that initial like pin in, and then it kind of just slides in from there. But I don't have a third arm, so it's kind of hard to show in recording, but you get the memo, you get the gist. Put everything back together. While we're at this stage, I'll show you how to adjust them, especially with free play. But I'm gonna get all this put together first, and then I'll get back to that. Thing is about this video is that I have the service manual. Under chapter 4 maintenance, you have throttle operation 4 through 7. You go to 4 through 7. Throttle operation gives you the free play, 2 to 4 millimeters. You can pause it, read it there. That's the adjuster on the handlebar. I'll show you that in a bit. Next page kind of shows you what it is. You can see that that's the adjuster and the lock nut. If you want to read that, you can. There's torque specs if you want. Kind of like the rule of thumb is that this is your major adjustments, and then this is your kind of fine tuning, fine adjustments. So I'm gonna get everything back on, and then we'll get back to the adjustments. Prime example of what I mean, that there's no obstructions actually in the way for throttle cables. So you remember last video, you remember like not even too long ago, twist snap. Now look, they're kind of slower. And this is because if you try to force things on to the throttle cables, like crimping that down, it blocks it. Kind of let go of it. It's a little better, but just a reminder not to get anything in the way to crimp it. You see now it's fully off. Snap it back in place. Put that back in, and you want to crimp it down like, hey, whatever. Now they're kind of... So that's just a little example of what not to do. It's gonna be kind of hard getting this back in place because how thick this new cable is. But hey, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Concept is the same for all throttle cables when it comes to adjusting them on the carb itself, not the handlebar just yet. But a good rule of thumb is to always kind of your bottom locking nut, kind of start all the way on the bottom, kind of just like that, and you can pull up or push down, and when you pull up and push down at the same time, twist your throttle to see where it gets that snappy action, you know? For me, it's the more you push it down, so you just want it at that bottom position. And keep in mind that I'm pretty sure in the book they call these lock nuts or whatever. I mean, you just had it, but when you twist this up here, it twists the entire thread, which locks both of those. So if you want fine adjusting, you just kind of just tighten these. These are 10 mils, and then when you want to lock it in place, you kind of just twist this and it locks it for you. So kind of just the same concept. I'm gonna get it to where I think it should be before fine-tune adjusting it, and show you guys what it should look like and what it should sound like. So pretty simple for me. Where I wanted it to be was all the way up the threads, and then tightening down this is a 10 millimeter, tighten this thing all the way right till it gets tight, because believe it or not, if you don't tighten it, it will come undone mid-ride or next time you come down to your carbs. Don't want that for safety issues and all that. But like I said, good rule of thumb is when you twist the throttle, you want to, when you let go, you instantly want to smack. It wants to snap back, and you want to hear it smack. That sound, that clicking sound, is exactly what you want. That's perfect. Then it kind of comes down to how much free play you want in your throttle. Kind of easy. Only rule of thumb that I give you is make sure you mess with it at the carbs as much as you can now, because once you put everything back together and sort it up and it's not working right, it's gonna be a pain in the butt to get all back together. But yeah, to see if we can get it right here, I'm also up here, so you don't have to go back and forth. But it's pretty self-explanatory when it comes to this stuff.